Minimum viable product is whatever you could build to learn the most at a certain point of time. And if you're an engineer, the immediate reaction is, oh, I get it, it's a defeatured version of the product. It's, some of the features are missing. And that just misses the point. That's not what an MVP is. An MVP on day one could be a PowerPoint slide of the UI. Or it could be a spreadsheet with the data you're going to provide a customer. Or it could be a wireframe. Or it could be even a conversation. An MVP changes over time, and what you're trying to do is maximize learning. It could simply be different price points. It could be A/B testing of pricing, which has nothing to do with the product. That is, what I'm trying to do is learn about customer segments, revenue model, customer acquisition, cost, volume, etc., correct channel, right partners. And so the minimum viable product is not a smaller version of the finished product. It might be, but almost often is not in the beginning of the company. And in fact, it's almost worth reminding people what a startup is. When I was an entrepreneur, I always thought a startup was the things I did, which is I woke up in the morning and figured out how I was going to take over the entire world, if not the entire universe, and that's what a startup was. But I realized that there were a variety of definitions. In Silicon Valley, a startup is the place where you get free food and get to bring your dog. But you're not allowed to bring your children. I never figured that one out. So I came up with a definition which might be helpful. A startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model.
That's really tight. Would you like to open that up for us a little bit?
I will, but it was designed to be like, you could say it in a sentence. Yeah. So number one is, I used to love startups. I did 8 of them, mostly because I was unemployable in a large company, so I had to do startups. A startup is a temporary organization, which means the goal of a startup is not to become a startup. What's the goal of a startup?
To grow.
To grow, to become a large company. So I put the word temporary organization just to remind ourselves that the goal is not to stay as a startup. Designed to search. Boy, that's interesting. I thought the goal of a startup is to grow and sell stuff or get sold or whatever. Actually, the goal of a startup, that early phase, is to answer a bunch of questions about your business model. It's a big idea. The goal in the early days is not to hire people and execute like you think you're correct. In fact, the data says, while you think you're a visionary, there's enough data across the world now to say, you're not a visionary, you're hallucinating. It's a big idea. And so, therefore, instead of wasting your time, we want you to search for a business model. Who are the customers? What's the right price? What's the right feature set? What's the right product market fit? And the way I want to do this is I want to get some evidence that this thing is the right business model, and I'll use MVPs to do that. But I'm looking for something that's repeatable. That is, I could do the same thing on Monday that works on Wednesday, that works next week, and scalable. That means for an input of 100 lira, I might get 200 lira back. Or for an input of a certain amount of dollars, I'll acquire so many customers. And so that's what the definition means. A startup is a temporary organization designed to search for repeatable and scalable business model.
I think it's worth repeating. Startup is a temporary organization in search of repeatable and scalable business model.